I'm 79 now, and I have learned to avoid certain people, even family. Not because I hate them, not because I think I am better than anyone, and not because my heart has turned cold with age. I avoid them because peace becomes too precious to keep handing it to people who do not respect it. When you are young, you think you have endless energy for arguments, explanations, disappointments, and emotional storms. You believe you can keep forgiving the same behavior, keep answering the same questions, keep opening the same door, and somehow your heart will not get tired. But old age teaches you quietly. It teaches you that every conversation has a cost. Every visit has a cost. Every argument has a cost. Every person you allow close to you either brings peace into your life or takes some of it away. And when you are 79, you cannot pretend that peace is a small thing. Peace is sleep. Peace is appetite. Peace is steady breathing. Peace is sitting in your own home without feeling like you must defend yourself. Peace is not having your heart race when the phone rings. Peace is waking up without yesterday's words still hurting you. That is why I no longer feel guilty about avoiding certain people. Some people are not evil. They are simply not safe for your peace. And yes, sometimes they share your blood. Sometimes they have your last name. Sometimes they call you mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, or friend. Sometimes they once sat at your table and ate from your hands. But family does not automatically mean emotional safety. That is a hard lesson. It took me many years to accept it. For most of my life, I believed family deserved unlimited access. I believed that if someone was family, you had to answer the phone, open the door, explain your decisions, forgive quickly, keep helping, keep listening, keep sacrificing, and keep pretending their behavior did not hurt you. I thought distance was cruel. Now I know better. Sometimes distance is not cruelty. Sometimes distance is wisdom wearing quiet shoes. The first kind of person I avoid now is the person who brings drama everywhere they go. You know the kind I mean. They cannot visit without bringing a problem. They cannot call without complaining about someone. They cannot sit peacefully for 10 minutes without pulling you into a story that makes your heart heavy. There is always a fight, always a misunderstanding, always someone who wronged them, always a new crisis, always a reason why you must listen, react, choose sides, or give advice. When I was younger, I thought being patient meant absorbing all of it. I thought if someone came to me upset, I had to take their upset into my own body. I had to feel what they felt. I had to worry because they were worried. I had to lose sleep because they were angry. But age has taught me that not every storm deserves shelter inside your chest. Some people are not looking for peace. They are looking for company in their chaos. And if you are not careful, they will use your quiet home as a place to unload everything they refuse to manage within themselves. This is where many of us make the mistake. We think listening means carrying. We think love means becoming emotionally available at all hours. We think if we do not respond to every crisis, we are being selfish. But old age changes the way your body handles stress. A harsh phone call can ruin your whole afternoon. A family argument can disturb your sleep. One upsetting visit can leave you tired for 2 days. The body does not recover as quickly as it used to. So now, when someone calls only to bring confusion, I do not rush to open my spirit. I listen carefully, but I do not let myself be pulled into every fire. I have learned to say, I hope things work out, without making their problem my responsibility. I have learned to say, I cannot discuss this right now, without apologizing for needing peace. I have learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to become part of the noise. A quiet life is not an empty life. It is a protected life. The second kind of person I avoid now is the one who only comes close when they need something. This one is painful, because it often involves family. Some people remember you only when their hands are empty. They do not call to ask how you slept. They do not visit just to sit with you. They do not check whether you are lonely, tired, afraid, or in need of help yourself. But when they need money, advice, a favor, a place to stay, emotional comfort, or someone to blame, suddenly they know your number. And because you are older, they may assume you should always be available. They may think, he is retired, she has time, they are not doing much anyway. That sentence, even when it is not spoken, can be felt. People forget that old age is not idleness. Old age has its own labor. You are managing your body, your memories, your home, your grief, your appointments, your energy, your loneliness, and your private fears. You may not be rushing to work every morning, but that does not mean your life is empty for others to fill with their demands. I used to feel honored when people came to me for help. It made me feel useful. It made me feel remembered. When a child or relative asked for something, part of me felt needed again. But the hardest lesson came later. Sometimes being needed is not the same as being loved. A person can need your money and not respect your sacrifice. A person can need your time and not value your rest. A person can need your advice and still ignore your wisdom. A person can need your kindness and still treat you carelessly when the need is gone. That is a bitter thing to understand, but it is better to understand it late than never understand it at all. Now I watch patterns, not words. Anyone can say, I love you. Anyone can say, I was just busy. Anyone can say, you know I care. But patterns speak louder than explanations. Do they call when they do not need anything? Do they listen when you speak? Do they respect your no? Do they show concern when you are not useful to them? Do they remember that you are a person, not a resource? If the answer is always no, then distance may be necessary. Not angry distance, not revenge, not punishment, just quiet distance. Because after a certain age, you must stop letting people treat your life like an open cupboard. You are not here to be emptied whenever someone else refuses to plan, grow, save, think, or take responsibility. Help when you truly can. But do not destroy yourself to prove you love people who only remember you when they need relief. The third kind of person I avoid now is the person who uses guilt as a leash. Guilt is powerful in old age. Many of us carry old guilt already. Guilt about the past, guilt about parenting, guilt about choices we made, guilt about things we said, guilt about things we did not do, guilt about not being strong enough, present enough, patient enough, wealthy enough, wise enough. And some people know exactly how to touch that guilt. They say things like, after all we have been through, you cannot do this one thing. They say, you have changed. They say, family is supposed to help family. They say, you are becoming selfish. They say, you will regret this one day. Those words may sound simple, but they can pull an older heart into deep pain. Because most older people do not want to be seen as selfish. We have spent much of our lives giving, working, raising, helping, sacrificing, holding families together, staying quiet to keep peace, swallowing hurt so others could be comfortable. So when someone calls us selfish, it cuts deep. But I did not understand this until I was much older. Some people call you selfish when you stop serving their comfort. They do not call you selfish because you are cruel. They call you selfish because your boundary inconveniences them. When you finally say no, they act like you betrayed them. But many times, what you really betrayed was their expectation that you would never choose yourself. That is not betrayal. That is maturity. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Guilt is not always a sign you are doing wrong. Sometimes guilt is the pain of finally doing what is right for yourself. I have learned to sit with guilt without obeying it immediately. That was not easy. At first, saying no made me restless. I would replay the conversation. I would wonder if I was too harsh. I would think about calling back and softening my answer. I would feel the old habit rising inside me, the habit of giving in just to make the discomfort stop. But peace requires practice. Now I ask myself, am I feeling guilty because I did something wrong, or because someone is unhappy that I protected myself? Those are not the same thing. There are people I now avoid because every conversation with them becomes a courtroom. I must defend my choices, explain my rest, justify my boundaries, prove my love, and apologize for wanting peace. I am too old for that now. Love should not always feel like trial. The fourth kind of person I avoid now is the one who refuses to respect my age, my space, and my independence. There is a strange thing that happens when you get older. Some people begin speaking to you as if you have become less of an adult. They may not mean harm, but they begin to decide things for you. They interrupt you. They dismiss your opinions. They explain simple things as if you no longer understand life. They act impatient when you move slower, ask a question, forget a name, or choose a different way. They say, "You should not be doing that." They say, "Let me handle it." They say, "You do not understand how things work now." Sometimes they are trying to help. But help without respect can feel like control. There is a way to assist an older person without taking away their dignity. There is a way to offer support without treating someone like a burden. There is a way to care without making the person feel small, but not everyone knows that way. And when you are older, losing independence is one of the deepest fears, not because we are proud for no reason, but because independence is tied to dignity. When you have lived many decades making decisions, carrying responsibilities, solving problems, and surviving storms, it hurts when people suddenly act as if your mind no longer matters. I avoid people who make me feel like I must shrink in order for them to feel useful. I avoid people who enter my home and begin rearranging my life without asking. I avoid people who speak over me in conversations about my own needs. I avoid people who mistake slower movement for stupidity. I avoid people who believe age gives them permission to control. That does not mean I reject help. Only a fool rejects help when help is truly needed. There is wisdom in accepting support. There is no shame in needing assistance. We all need others in one season or another, but I have learned to choose help that preserves dignity. The right person says, "Would you like me to help?" The wrong person says, "You cannot do this anymore," before they even ask. The right person listens. The wrong person takes over. The right person respects your voice. The wrong person treats your age like evidence against you. Old age may change the body, but it does not erase the person inside. And anyone who cannot see the person inside me does not need full access to my life. The fifth kind of person I avoid now is the gossip carrier. When you are younger, gossip may feel like ordinary conversation. People talk, families talk, neighbors talk. Someone says something, someone repeats it, someone adds a little emotion, and everyone pretends it is harmless. But in old age, gossip becomes poison very quickly, because peace is thinner, energy is lower, family wounds are older, and words can travel faster than truth. I have seen small comments become big conflicts. I have seen private pain turned into entertainment. I have seen relatives smile in one room and destroy each other in another. I have seen people collect secrets not because they care, but because secrets make them feel important. And I have learned to be very careful around anyone who enjoys carrying stories. If someone constantly tells you what everyone else said, do not be foolish. They are probably telling everyone else what you said too. That lesson alone can save you from many headaches. A gossip carrier may act close to you. They may say, "I am only telling you because I trust you." They may say, "Do not tell anyone I said this." They may make you feel special, chosen, included. But really, they are training you to participate in disorder. And if you participate long enough, one day you will become the topic. This is why I speak less now. Not because I have no thoughts, not because I have no feelings, not because I am afraid. I speak less because I have finally learned the value of clean hands. When you do not feed gossip, you do not have to remember what you said. You do not have to worry who heard it. You do not have to explain your tone. You do not have to sit in the middle of a fire you helped light. There is peace in refusing to carry words that are not yours to carry. If someone begins telling me another person's private business, I now ask myself, why am I being given this? What am I supposed to do with it? Is this wisdom or is this poison? Many times it is poison, And poison does not become medicine just because it is served by family. I have learned to change the subject. I have learned to say, I hope they are all right. I have learned not to add fuel. I have learned not to ask too many questions when the answers are not my business. The older I get, the more I respect silence. Silence has saved me from arguments. Silence has saved me from regret. Silence has saved me from being used as a witness in family battles I never wanted to fight. Some people think silence means weakness. No. Sometimes silence means you are no longer available for foolishness. The sixth kind of person I avoid now is the one who keeps reminding me of who I used to be. There are people who never allow you to grow. They remember your worst season and treat it like your permanent name. They remember your mistakes more clearly than your sacrifices. They remember what you said when you were tired, what you did when you were young, what you failed to understand, what you could not give, what you got wrong. And even after years pass, they keep dragging the old version of you into the room. This can happen in families more than anywhere else, because family knew you before you became who you are now. They knew your temper, your fears, your foolishness, your failures, your hard years, your proud years, your broken years. And some people cannot accept that you have changed because your growth would require them to update the story they tell about you. So they keep you frozen. They say, you always do this. They say, you were never there. They say, you have always been difficult. They say, do not act wise now. Those words can be very heavy when you are older, because by 79, you already know you are not perfect. You do not need someone throwing stones at the windows of your memory every time you try to live peacefully. I believe in accountability. I believe in apologies. I believe people have the right to speak about pain. But I also believe no one should spend the rest of their life chained to the worst chapter they ever lived. There must be room for growth. There must be room for mercy. There must be room for an older person to become softer, quieter, wiser, and still be treated as someone who has changed. I avoid people who only know how to meet the old version of me, because they do not come to connect. They come to confirm their old judgment. And if you spend too much time around people like that, you begin to doubt your own growth. You begin to feel like no matter how much you change, it will never be enough. You begin to live under a shadow that does not belong to today. That is no way to spend your remaining years. Sometimes dignity means walking away without proving your pain. Sometimes peace means accepting that certain people are more loyal to their opinion of you than to the truth of who you are now. Let them keep the old picture. You do not have to keep standing inside its frame. The seventh kind of person I avoid now is the one who makes my home feel unsafe. And I do not only mean physically unsafe. I mean emotionally unsafe. Your home in old age should be a place where your breathing slows down. It should be a place where you can sit quietly, drink tea, pray, read, rest, remember, and simply be. It does not have to be big. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to impress anyone. But it should protect your spirit. There are people who enter a home and change the air. They criticize everything: the furniture, the food, the way you live, the way you keep things, the way you spend money, the way you dress, the way you remember, the way you forget. They bring tension through the door like mud on their shoes. They speak too loudly. They ask personal questions. They look through things with their eyes. They make comments that stay in the room long after they leave. And when they finally go, you do not feel loved. You feel relieved. That feeling tells you something. Relief after someone leaves is often your spirit telling the truth your mouth is afraid to say. I used to ignore that feeling. I would tell myself, they are family. They mean well. I am being too sensitive. But repeated discomfort is information. If every visit leaves you tired, tense, ashamed, pressured, or sad, you must stop pretending it is nothing. Your home is not a public place. Your time is not public property. Your peace is not open for inspection. At my age, I no longer allow everyone into my space just because they expect access. Some visits must be shorter, some calls must be later, some people must be met outside the home, some conversations must not happen at all, some doors must remain closed. That is not rudeness, that is protection. You can be polite and still have limits. You can love people and still say, now is not a good time. You can care about family and still decide that your home will not become a place for criticism, pressure, arguments, or emotional dumping. The older I get, the more I understand that my peace needs a home too. And if my home does not protect my peace, where else will it go? There is another truth I must speak carefully. Avoiding certain people does not mean we are free from sadness. Sometimes distance hurts. There are people I avoid now, and I still love them. There are people I no longer call often, and I still remember them with tenderness. There are people I do not invite close anymore, and part of me still wishes things were different. That is the part many people do not understand. Boundaries do not always feel powerful. Sometimes they feel lonely. Sometimes you close a door and cry behind it. Sometimes you stop calling someone and still look at the phone. Sometimes you protect your peace and still grieve the relationship you wish you had. But grief does not mean the boundary is wrong. It only means your heart is human. Old age does not remove the need for love. If anything, it makes love more meaningful. A kind voice matters more. A sincere visit matters more. A peaceful conversation matters more. Someone who sits with you without wanting anything becomes a blessing. But because love matters more, we must become more careful about counterfeit closeness. Not everyone near you is with you. Not everyone who calls cares. Not everyone who says family understands love. And not every open door leads to peace. I do not avoid people because I want to be alone forever. I avoid certain people because I no longer want to feel alone while sitting beside someone who does not see me. There is a difference. Being alone in peace is better than being surrounded in pain. I have learned to choose the small circle over the crowded room. I have learned to value one honest conversation over 10 noisy visits. I have learned to let go of the idea that everyone must understand me, approve of me, or stay close to me. That is one of the quiet freedoms of age. You stop auditioning for love. You stop explaining your soul to people who only hear what they want. You stop chasing those who have already shown you where you stand. You stop confusing access with affection. And slowly, your life becomes quieter. At first, the quiet may feel strange. You may wonder if you have become too hard. You may miss the noise because noise can disguise emptiness. You may feel guilty because you were taught that good people always answer, always help, always forgive, always welcome, always endure. But then one morning, you wake up and realize your chest feels lighter. You drink your tea without bitterness. You sit in your chair without replaying an insult. You hear the phone ring and know you are allowed not to answer immediately. You look around your home and feel that it belongs to you again. That is when you understand. Peace is not the absence of people. Peace is the absence of people who keep injuring your spirit. I do not want my remaining years to be ruled by resentment. That is not why I avoid certain people. I do not want to sit around counting wounds or speaking badly about those who hurt me. That would only keep them close in another way. I avoid them so I can soften. I avoid them so I can pray without anger. I avoid them so I can sleep. I avoid them so I can remember good things without being pulled back into old pain. I avoid them so I can spend my energy on people, places, and thoughts that do not make my soul tired. Some people should be forgiven from a distance. Some people should be loved with limits. Some people should be remembered, but not invited back into the center of your life. And some people, even family, must be allowed to remain outside the gate of your peace. If this sounds harsh, maybe you have not yet grown tired enough. But those who know, know. Those who have spent years being the strong one, the forgiving one, the available one, the quiet one, the one who holds everything together, they understand. There comes a time when your soul whispers, enough. Not in anger, in exhaustion. And when that time comes, you must listen. Because if you do not listen to that whisper, life may force you to hear it through illness, anxiety, sleepless nights, bitterness, or a heart that no longer feels safe in its own home. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary, especially when you are older, especially when your energy is limited, especially when you know how quickly time passes, especially when you finally understand that you cannot get back the years you spent trying to please people who were never satisfied. So now, at 79, I avoid certain people. I avoid the ones who bring drama and call it conversation. I avoid the ones who only remember me when they need something. I avoid the ones who use guilt to control my heart. I avoid the ones who treat my age like permission to disrespect me. I avoid the gossip carriers who poison every room with borrowed words. I avoid the ones who refuse to let me grow beyond my past. I avoid the ones who enter my home and leave my spirit unsettled. And I do it without hatred. That is important. Hatred keeps you tied to people. Anger keeps the conversation alive inside you. Resentment gives them a room in your mind, even when they are not in your house. I do not want that. I want peace. I want clean mornings. I want quiet evenings. I want honest relationships. I want my remaining years to belong to something better than old arguments and repeated disappointments. If you are over 60, over 70, or beyond, please hear this with a calm heart. You are allowed to choose who has access to you. You are allowed to shorten conversations that disturb your peace. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You are allowed to love family without letting family control your life. You are allowed to be kind without being available for every demand. You are allowed to forgive without returning to the same fire. You are allowed to protect the little strength you have left. The people who truly love you may not always agree with your boundaries, but they will not punish you for needing them. They may feel disappointed, but they will still respect your dignity. They may not understand at first, but they will not try to destroy your peace just because they no longer have full access. Pay attention to that. A person's reaction to your boundary often reveals why the boundary was needed. If they respond with cruelty, manipulation, insult, guilt, or revenge, then your spirit already knew the truth before your mind accepted it. Let your peace teach you who belongs close. Old age is not only about letting go of possessions, old clothes, unused things, and dusty boxes. Sometimes the hardest decluttering is emotional. Sometimes you must remove certain voices from your daily life, certain expectations, certain obligations, certain relationships that have become too heavy to carry. And when you do, you may discover that your life is not emptier. It is clearer. The quiet becomes less frightening. The days become less crowded with worry. Your thoughts become your own again. Your home feels softer. Your heart stops bracing for impact. That is worth protecting. I'm 79 now. I do not have the energy to pretend every relationship is healthy. I do not have the desire to keep proving my love to people who measure love by how much access they have to me. I do not have the strength to keep opening doors that should have been closed years ago. But I still have love in me. I still have kindness. I still have hope. I still believe in family, but I no longer worship the word family as an excuse to accept anything. Family should bring care, not constant wounds. Love should bring warmth, not fear. Connection should bring peace, not exhaustion. And if it does not, then distance may be the wisest answer left. Sometimes the most peaceful years of your life begin the moment you stop giving difficult people unlimited access to your heart. If this message speaks to you, share your age in the comments. Tell me whether you have also learned to avoid certain people for the sake of your peace, even if they are family. You may find that many others are carrying the same quiet truth. And if nobody has told you this lately, let me tell you now. Protecting your peace does not make you cruel. It means you finally understand that your life still matters, your heart still matters, and your remaining years should not be spent surviving people who refuse to treat you with care.